Prime.
A warm welcome to our viewers across Ghana, right around the world, as well as those watching across Europe on ABN television. This is Joy News Prime, and my name is Israel Lai. In this edition, MPP minority demands prosecution of former Youth and Sports Minister Kofi Humado after Auditor General report indicting the Jada scandal in which the state lost almost $1 billion Ghana cedis. Electoral Commission to begin process to reopen nominations for fresh district-level elections after the Supreme Court forced a last-minute postponement of the March 3 election. Police identify key suspects in nationwide police recruitment scam. Businesses to go ahead with Wednesday demonstration against factors they say are hampering the operations, especially the energy crisis. And residents of Adenta speak about the water supply challenges they say, though it has improved, are far from over. We also have more business, sports, and international news to stay tuned. The very first story, former Youth and Sports Minister Kofi Humado has finally been indicted in the Auditor General's report for his alleged role in a massive Jada scandal in which the state lost almost $1 billion cedis to questionable contracts. Now, several officials, including the former National Coordinator of the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, Jada, are facing prosecution for their roles in the scandal. The former Youth and Sports Minister had until now been left untouched and had in fact testified in court against the former coordinator Abuga Pele. But the latest Auditor General's report, intercepted by Joy News, says the former minister must also be held accountable and sanctioned for the rot. For more on the revelations in the Auditor General's report, I'm joined by parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe. Good evening to you, Elton.
Good evening, Izzy.
First, tell us the extent of the corruption and general irregularities captured by the Auditor General's report, which I can see is lying right in front of you, a fat one at that.
Well, we are looking at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the audited accounts for 2013. Now, in the observation made by the Auditor General, according to the Auditor General, the agency did not obtain enough evidence on the capacity and skills of 16 service providers it engaged before entering into agreement to provide training services valued at $429.1 million Ghana cedis.
That's approaching like half a billion.
Half a billion to targeted beneficiaries. And the Auditor General is saying that even though they came across a memorandum of understanding, they did not see any documentary proof relating to the basic procurement requirement as enshrined in the Financial Administration Act.
Okay. And the understanding we have on these supposed arrangements with the people are that these are sole-sourced agreements or contracts that were handed out to them. So in effect, the Auditor General is saying that even though they were sole-sourced, the processes leading or that you're supposed to follow before awarding sole source contracts were not followed.
Yeah, indeed.
Or they don't have any documentation to that effect.
Yeah, because I'm sure you are aware of the procurement regulation that says that matters of this nature must be contested for by companies. In this case, sole sourcing was adopted. Okay. Now, the Auditor General is saying that the Minister for Youth and Sports at the time, and in this case we are talking about Kofi Humado, who was responsible for the award of these contracts, should be called upon to answer why the stipulated requirements were not adhered to, even though the law is clear as far as the procurement law and the Financial Administration Act is concerned.
Okay, and that's where all this gets interesting, because all we've known is that there's some people who are currently facing trial over this, but then Kofi Humado, who's a former minister, is not one of those people.
Exactly. Exactly, and indeed, the ministry provided some response to the Auditor General's query, and indeed, according to the report, management said that the contracts have all been cancelled by the Minister for Youth and Sports effective December 2013 upon the presidential directive. But the Auditor General is saying that, cancellation must not, or it did not negate the responsibility for accountability by the minister, the NYEP officials and the beneficiary company regarding the amount that had been used under the respective agreement for services and to seek refund. So even though government has cancelled the contracts, the Auditor General is of the view that these individuals who have incited should be made to account for the money lost.
Now, there's so much more in there, but one other thing that I'm interested in is the update regarding the attempt to recover these monies that were lost. What does the report say? The
report says that, the management of JIDA told the Auditor General that the government on the 15th of November 2013 directed the Minister for Justice and Attorney General to secure the refund of this money, among others, and that although meetings had been held, no specific action has been taken on this particular matter. And I'm sure you're aware that this issue came before Parliament, where the Attorney General was called upon to respond to what government was doing to recover these monies. Indeed, we are told that some of these companies who have been cited, they've made commitment to pay it on a quarterly basis, but as at the last count, they are only paid once within the last 2 years, which means that even though there is a written agreement between these companies, they are not adhering to the dictates of the agreement.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Also, Elton John Brover bringing us up to speed with details in the Auditor General's report on this JIDA scandal. Now, we have the soundbite. We have the former Youth and Sports Minister Kofi Humado. He's been speaking or reacting to these recent allegations. Let's hear him out.
Well, first of all, I haven't read the report. I have not been contacted. And I'm now trying to download the report and read its contents and be sure on what exactly is being said. But to the extent that you are telling me about what the report has said, you see, these things have a procedure. When I was minister myself, I also answered for other previous ministers when the Auditor General's report came to the ministry and onto the committee, the Public Accounts Committee. So I think that we should allow due process to take place. Most of those companies you are mentioning were there even before I came. RLG, Zoom Lion, they were there before I came. They had enduring contracts that were going on. A few had to be extended. So unless I read the details of the report, I wouldn't know exactly what to tell you now. But I am sure that I have done my job diligently.
Is that to suggest that the Auditor General, before finalizing this for Parliament, did not speak to you at all?
At all. Nobody spoke to me.
Then when you hear also, it goes further to say that, in our view, the cancellation did not negate the responsibility for accountability by the minister, and therefore they must be sanctioned. Would you be surprised to hear that?
Well, that's a statement. When we come to the issue, we will know whether I should be sanctioned or not. I also have a defense, and I'll put it up. So that's why I'm saying that as long as I was not contacted, I still have my defense, and I must be able to exercise my defense.
And your defense is?
No, I can't give it now. I say I haven't read the details.
Right, in other news, the Electoral Commission says, contrary to reports that it failed to follow laid-down procedures in the process leading up to the now suspended district-level elections, the Commission adhered strictly to the provisions. The Electoral Commission had to postpone the election scheduled for March 3 after the Supreme Court ruled that the election was not supported by the right legal instrument. The EC, however, says it was not aware that CI 75, which was the legal basis for the election, had not matured till the court ruled against it. According to the Principal Public Relations Officer, Christian Owusu-Parry, the Commission had always relied on the provisions made in the CI 75 to conduct all its elections, and that no objections were raised when nominations were opened.
We went into this exercise with all the good intentions, relying on laws that we have been relying on all the time. We have relied on the CI 75 to take nominations before, then it was CI 15. We have relied on PNDC Law 284. So we have relied on a combination of laws, and those laws have never been challenged. And it's always so unfortunate that this time it is alleged that CI 85 wasn't matured. And we had gone ahead to receive nomination under some other regulation that the Supreme Court disagrees with us. Until we close nomination, nobody has raised any such objection. So where did that advice come from? And of course, we were operating with laws. And we have operated these laws over the years. Those laws, we relied on them in the past to run successful elections. And if those laws are being challenged now, then of course new developments have come up, and so we have to adjust the way that we do things. That is all it means. There are new developments that we have to comply with. It doesn't mean that we didn't take the necessary precautions, no.
Now the EC, however, he further added that the EC will, by the close of this week, lay before Parliament a new set of regulations on the conduct of district-level elections, after which it will open new nominations for the district assembly elections.
So what the Commission has decided to do is that before we take nominations, we have to take the regulations to Parliament. So we're going to prepare fresh regulations for the conduct of district-level elections. And we're looking at putting the regulations together in the next few days. And as soon as the regulations are ready, to be laid before Parliament. And when it is laid before Parliament, we'll have to wait for the mandatory 21 sittings before it matures. It is only then that we can talk about receiving nominations for the district-level elections as ordered by the Supreme Court.
Meanwhile, the Executive Director of the Center for Local Governance Advocacy says Parliament must, as a matter of urgency, intervene to extend the tenure of the current Assembly members. Deputy Local Government Minister Nilante Vanderpoel last Friday told Joy News the current assemblies will be dissolved by March 14 as required by law. But Dr. Vladimir Chudanso says dissolving the assemblies without holding fresh elections will create chaos.
In the first place, there is a big lacuna in the Constitution where such a situation is concerned. No part of the Constitution talks about what we need to do when we have such a situation. And therefore, what will happen is that we'll have a snowballing effect of illegalities, and people might take the Electoral Commission and or the district assemblies to court. There's going to be a lot of litigation if we don't step in. And stepping in, the Constitution says nothing. How do you step in? So in order that after 14th of March, whatever the assemblies would do would not be declared a nullity, we decided that something should be done. And we felt the best way to go about it is to ask Parliament to sit and be able to extend the period of the current MMDAs, sorry. And if they do that, then there is the legitimacy for the assemblies to function until elections are held. Our concern is 14th March. What happens then? If assembly agents comes after 14th March to come and take a levy from anybody on the market, they will say, which assembly? I mean, who are you? What right? It's like everything will come to a halt after 14th if we don't do anything, and that's our concern.
In other news, the police administration has identified one Aisha Asumda, a 36-year-old share butter trader, as the main architect of the latest nationwide police recruitment scam. Aisha, a convicted fraudster who is currently on bail for a similar offense, is alleged to have jumped bail and is currently on the police wanted list. Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Service, COP Prosper Kwame Aglo, tells Joy News they have mounted a search for her.
Some of them have mentioned Aisha as the one to whom they paid the money and the one who gave them the letter to report for training. So we are making a headway. And the recruitment, I can say it's the current one is being done by Aisha and her gang. Because the person we arrested, one of the persons we arrested on Friday, this is the photograph I have here, was working with Aisha. He has admitted working with Aisha.
Director General of Police Human Resource and Administration, COP Patrick Timbila, added that those currently in possession of the police recruitment letters will be treated as suspects to deter others from falling victims to similar offences.
Asha is a police. Why is it that you pay money to her in order to get recruited? At the end of the day, look at the number. And this time round, we are going to arrest them for possession of forged documents. And the onus will lie on them to prove where the source of that document. Failing that, then we have to take the law on them.
Patrick Timbila also denied suggestions that recruitment into the police service was cumbersome, hence the recurrence of recruitment fraud year on year.
It's getting enlistment like selling granules or kuli on the road. You just pay money, then they will write your name and give you. Is that what happens? So to get people into police is quite meticulous. We would say it's cumbersome. They should exercise patience for it.
The Chairman of Parliament Select Committee on Defence and Interior, Milhua Fresbafo, has told Joy News he has scheduled meetings with the top hierarchy of the police service to get a detailed briefing of how come a criminal managed to defraud hundreds of Ghanaians with fake recruitment into the police service. Speaking on today's big story, Mr. Bafo denied suggestions that the committee has not acted timely since the issue broke at the weekend. Police in the Eastern region are on the manhunt for a man alleged to have killed 3 people. Mohammed Bami had allegedly threatened to kill 6 people after he was acquitted of armed robbery. 3 of them are now dead and police suspect him to be behind the killings. Joy News' Barima Osei Asare has been following the story from the township of Nkoko.
This is what is happening now. 3 of the men
have
died. There are 3 who are alive. On Friday, I was with them in a secret location around Nkoko. And what they are saying is that, 1, they are so terrified and they are also afraid to report to the police because they claim the police in Nkoko have been compromised. And so if you go to report, your identity will be leaked. And since this man threatened 6 people, he's killed 3, everyone is now afraid to even go and report when they have leads leading to his arrest. But as we speak, the Eastern Regional Police have put a booty of I think 5,000 Ghana cedis, that if you give information leading to his arrest, you'll be given 5,000 Ghana cedis. But the people are saying, we don't trust the police, we don't trust the judiciary, and so going forward to volunteer information is even a problem now.
Indeed, because I'm wondering if you can't trust the police, who's going to save your behind if this Bami guy comes after you. So right now, the police has no idea what Bami could be.
What they are saying is that he should be commuting between that place and perhaps a front place and those areas in the region. And when I spoke to the people, they also believe he comes to Nkoko even sometimes, but in the night. But how the situation is, nobody can even go and then report him, even if they see him. So he's believed to be in the region. There was a time they said he might have crossed back to Nigeria. And even the police said before they moved here to Ghana in around 2005 or so, there were issues about crimes back in Nigeria, his home state. He had some criminal records there even before he moved with the family here. And the police say they believe when he's moving, he doesn't move alone, but he moves within the cattle. Maybe if the head of cattle is being driven around, he'll be in the middle, and so he cannot be spotted. But the main issue, according to the people on the ground, is that they are afraid to report him. Even if they see him, they don't trust the police, because when you go and report, somehow he gets to know who came to the police station to volunteer information. One of them even told me that those that died, when they were threatened, some of them went ahead and reported to the police, yet
they died anyway.
So it is a very difficult case, and the police are finding it very difficult to get this man, but they haven't given up.
We're taking a break now, but we have more stories coming up. Don't go away. Despite recent efforts by government to solve the decades-old water problem at Adenta here in Accra, Joy News checks indicate the residents' potable water supply issues are far from over. Though there's been some improvement in the flow of water through their taps, the residents say that days on which water flows are few and far between. Joining News' Chehine Boateng has been to the area and reports.
President Mahama in the State of the Nation address highlighted how residents of Adenta are having water flowing through their taps.
I am happy to report that on the eve of last year's Christmas, I commissioned the Kong Water Expansion Project and opened the valve to commence the flow of 20 million gallons of water to households and businesses in the northeastern part of Accra. An additional 20 million gallons is available and scheduled to start flowing at the end of this month to achieve the set daily capacity of the plant, which is 40 million gallons of water. Mr. Speaker, for over 700,000 residents of this area whose taps were running for the first time in almost 20 years, it was the best Christmas gift I could have given them.
The president's message came to many residents of Adenta as refreshing news, particularly for those residing in the Snake Flats area who now have their taps flowing at least once a week, even though they are sometimes gifted with another day of flow.
Yeah, we do have water.
Is it from January or from last year? Or from
actually, it started during the Christmas period.
In the Christmas?
Yeah.
So you've had consistent flow of water since December?
Yes, it has been coming, just that the schedule, they have not really given us a schedule. There is no precise schedule. You by the time you realize the taps are flowing.
I'm in block 48.
Block 48. Now, do you have water there?
Yeah, we have water now.
You have water now?
Yes, please. Actually, first it was very terrible, but now that he has fixed the water, we are getting water.
Beyond the Snake Flats, however, the story appeared to be a lot different. Residents of House and Down, another part of the community, say they've yet to see the president's comments come to reality.
We haven't get any water since they say they have opened the pipe, this and those and that, or I think you have got only once since the time up. I think 3 months now, we have got only once. After once, we never get any water again. No, even though when people are talking, we never see even single day water. Only once we have get water. So we don't know what's the problem. And they're talking the TV, whatever, every ways that we have water, we didn't get the water up to now. So we really don't know what's going on.
No, I bought water about 5 days ago. 5 days ago, I just bought water. So we lodged their complaint to Water and Sewage. So we are expecting them to come and check up where the fault is. Residents
of Adenta Fafraha also had a story similar to those at House and Down.
I think for the past three years, there has not been any water running through our taps. So we've been buying water. At least every 2 weeks, you have to buy water.
Be Sunday, you have water, and in 3 weeks' time, water doesn't flow through the taps. And I've not had straight shower since, I can't even remember. So during the week, you experience water flowing like 2 days. Then in 3-4 weeks, there's no water.
Now, beyond the irregular flow of water, the residents also complain about the outrageous amounts they are billed.
Strangely enough, somewhere along the line, that was that was January, they brought us a bill about 185 Ghana cedis. We don't know where it came from, because we have not receiving water for the past 3 years, and you bring us a bill about that much. So we don't get it.
Last time they brought the water bill here, and my wife, they bring it to my wife, and I say, oh, how come? Past 3-4 months, we never get even. Only once we get water, and they bring, I think, water bill of 100 or 150 Ghana. Who we no use water? We don't have water, we no use water, and they started bringing the bill. So how are we going to pay the bill?
There are yet many other residents who may not see the promised water running through their taps anytime soon. As for them, the pipes to carry the water to their homes are non-existent. For them, the wait for water to flow may take a while longer. Kwabena Chehine Boateng, Joy News.
The Ghana Medical Association says the National Health Insurance Authority owes some major health facilities in the Greater Accra region more than 18 million Ghana cedis. 4 hospitals in Kumasi are also owed more than 4 million Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, President John Mahama during the State of the Nation address said part payment had been made to the hospitals only 2 weeks ago.
The outpatient utilization of our National Health Insurance Scheme went up to 27,400,000 subscribers in 2014. This is a sure sign of the benefits of the scheme to many of our citizenry. We will strengthen the fraud detection capacity of the scheme in order to eliminate, detect, and sanction facilities and personnel who take advantage of the system. This week, a portion of outstanding claims is being disbursed to health providers. Government will work to review the scheme to ensure its sustainability.
Right, so his statements have a sharp contrast to the claims made in the Ghana Medical Association's letter to the Health Ministry, which states that the last payment to hospitals was made sometime in June 2014. The delay in paying the hospitals is said to have led to some reverting to co-payment or the cash and carry system. The association is therefore urging the Health Ministry to compel the NHI to service all its debts as soon as possible. Now, the Education Ministry is warning against what it describes as religious intimidation in schools. Education Minister Jane Opoku-Agyeman told Joy FM Super Morning Show today, all religions are important and must be respected. Her comments follow recent demands by Muslims for their religious beliefs to be respected, so the students who follow the faith are exempted from Christian services. Her comments are in sharp contrast to a directive from the Ghana Education Service that Muslim students should attend Christian devotional services. Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman insists that religious intolerance could poison the learning environment.
Religion is a very sensitive matter, and we need to approach the subject with all the sensitivity and the respect that is required. If the school is a Muslim school, I will not expect that every child in that school, regardless the background, is obliged to conform to certain practices. And the reverse is true. If it is a Christian school, again, you see, and a lot of the schools have done this very, very well, even within the same religion. I went to a Methodist school, and I remember that non-Methodists who came to the school, who were admitted into that school, had parents who said, we didn't want our children to go to the Methodist service. There were schools that would say, if the child doesn't belong to this church, the child cannot come to the school. Even within the same religion we have. Now, across religions, it becomes even more complex.
Yes.
So that's why we need to step back and ask ourselves, what is the school? The school is an environment that allows learning to occur. It should be non-threatening. So coercion of any kind should not be tolerated. The school is a place for children to learn to tolerate, to respect diversity. Okay, and all of these are very important. They are the soft skills that we require in our world today. Understanding, respect for diversity, respect for different opinions, acceptance for things that are not familiar with us. So the broader picture should also guide what it is that we do. Okay, in terms of taking picture and so on, I'm not sure how to respond to that, because there are guidelines, and I'm sure all peoples of all religions taking passport pictures will have to take the pictures under certain conditions. And that has nothing to do with education and what it is. But I would like to use this medium to plead with all of us, you know, whatever it is that we think our religion is doing, let it show in the performance of that school. Let it show in the way in which those children relate to each other. Let it show in the way in which the teachers relate to each other and they relate to the children. Let it show in creating a welcoming, non-threatening environment where the best in every child should come out. I hope that we make that our focus.
Right, there have been some positive developments following Joy News' report at the Manche Taki cluster of basic schools in Accra, where pupils are said to have joined protesters demonstrating against the energy crisis. Our very own Martha Crensel Aqua filed a report on how the pupils may have managed to sneak out of the school without the knowledge of their teachers. Martha, in that report, discovered a number of unauthorized exits, which we found out on Monday have since been blocked. Right, next up. Next up, we bring you business news with Abigail Adumakwenji. Right, so there are a number of issues coming up in business, and Abigail Adumakwenji, you've been away for a while. Good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back.
Okay, so a number of issues coming up in business today. Interestingly, they all somehow, related. First, we have the issue about the businesses saying that they're going to shut down because of to protest the energy crisis, among other factors. And then we have the second story having to do with ICU saying that indeed some workers have indeed been laid off as a result of the energy crisis. And then ASAP comes up to say, okay, whatever measures we're trying to put in place, to solve. Okay.
I mean, it's yet again a promise by government, so they say.
Okay.
So
we'll get all that in a bit.
In a bit. Now, my name is Abigail Adumakwenji, as already said, and here is where we bring you updates in business. Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has described as unrealistic government's quest to generate 3,800 megawatts of electricity in the next 5 years. The energy think tank African Center for Energy is also pushing for government to reconsider the deals agreed to address the short-term challenges in the power sector. President Mahama, in his address last week, said development or the deployment of power plant was part of immediate steps to tackle the incessant power outages. They include power barges from Turkish company Car Power, generating units from Dubai, and an emergency plant from General Electric. But Executive Director of ASAP, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, told Joy News after a press briefing today that the deals are bad for Ghana. Take a listen.
It is important for our leaders to be very realistic when they are bringing out plans, in order not to raise expectations that they cannot meet. How can you imagine, for instance, that it took us over 50 years to build our current total installed capacity of only 2,800 megawatts? And yet the president thinks that in 5 years, we can bring on 3,800 megawatts. It's curious. And so I am not sure that this is realizable. And that is what the president is, relying on to fix the energy challenge. 2,100 megawatts of the 3,800 promised in 5 years will be gas-fired plants. And so, together with our existing gas-fired plants, total gas requirement will jump to about 900 million standard cubic feet in 5 years. And so by 2019, that should be our demand, if at all the 3,800 megawatts are added. All our indigenous sources by 2019 will give us a total gas supply of 400 million standard cubic feet. That is from Atoabu, from TEN, from Sankofa. Tell me, where are we going to get 500 million standard cubic feet to fire the plants? If the president cannot give me the strategy for securing fuel supply in 5 years, then it is a dream that in 5 years we will have added 3,800 megawatts.
Now, rating agency Fitch says it might be forced to downgrade Ghana's credit ratings very soon. This has been influenced by fears of excessive spending next year because of the general elections, which could worsen government's financial position. The warning was contained in the agency's latest report on Ghana after the country closed the IMF bailout deal at the staff level. Meanwhile, government says it is already instituting measures that will improve rather than deteriorate its financial position in the election year. According to Deputy Finance Minister Mona Korte, government regards an IMF deal only as a complement to measures being taken to address the country's economic challenges. A chunk of the IMF bailout funds would be used for the country's economic transactions with the rest of the world, according to the Deputy Finance Minister. The International Monetary Fund last Thursday tentatively agreed to offer some $940 million in support of Ghana's economic recovery process. Government has, however, allayed the fears expressed over the IMF conditionalities, saying the deal repositions government to redeem the economy. The General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Solomon Kote, has confirmed the layoff of 350 workers 2 months into the year due to the energy crisis. The ICU is asking government to sit up in addressing the crisis and ensure there is data for the industrial consumption of power to help with the planning and scheduling of the load management programs, while it also suspends the rural electrification project to allow enough power for industry.
Currently, we've been able to lay hands on 350 just this year. Okay, 350 just this year. And we've been in very long conversation with a lot of employers that if the trend continues the way it is, they might have no option than to go to the full hog. At the moment, it is just a dint of the fact that some employers have got some buffer stock, and that's what they are relying upon. We are not saying that the president is not having sleepless nights over the issue, but what we are saying is that if whatever effort they are putting in is not bringing us a solution, then they need to double their efforts, because we keep hearing messages of promises, and the promises have become mirage. The promises that they keep giving us is not enough for any employer to even do common budget work. Even when they come to the point and say, let us do the rationing of the power. Look at the haphazard manner that is done. Days that you don't expect to have power, then you have power. Days that you expect to have power, then you don't have power. Days that you expect to have power, midway, without notice, and power goes off. Okay, so indeed, government must come straight on and ensure that either ECG, GRIDCO, or VRA, when they say the industry is giving power, that power must be ensured that they can rely upon and do whatever business they want to do with the day. What we are also asking government to do, that government should know the consumption of power in industry. In fact, there was a seminar that ICU raised the question, may we know the consumption of industry in this country? And the data is simply not there. Once the data is not there, how do you provide? Because we believe where we have reached, there should be preferences. Our hospitals, our industries, they should have light even 24 hours, so that in the domestic element, if even we are denied, okay, and then government should also stop the extension of the rural electrification projects.
Indeed, doomsaw is a real challenge, but I really hope that government works at it away from the energy issues. The business community in Ghana is bent on going ahead with a strike this Wednesday to protest a number of issues it says is crippling the operations, though the entities under the Joint Private Sector Consultative Business Forum had initially stated that the protest in the form of a shop closure is to protest the proposed implementation of the Ghana Conformity Assessment Program, GCAP, and the advanced shipment information. They have since stated a lot more issues, including the impact of the energy crisis on the operations. GCAP is a conformity assessment process used to verify that products imported into Ghana meet the necessary standards, whilst ASHI is an electronic platform by which relevant shipment information is received in advance of a vessel's arrival to enable pre-arrival clearance processes.
To the harbor there, we have custom chemists, if it's drugs and food, of course. We have the Environmental Protection Agency to make sure that what is coming, our health, hazardous, will not affect that. We have atomic energy, we have energy commission, we have so many institutions. In fact, the last time we computed about 14 institutions, government agencies, doing virtually the same thing. Everybody has an LI, everybody has a mandate to check your product before. Now, importers keep on paying money so much, and of course, we do know in 2014, government also go ahead to increase the 2.5 VAT, who came 70.5. We have the financial aspect, 70.5 running in the bank, and you know concurrently, it is the importer who transfer money, huge sums of money to their suppliers for goods to come in. So what we are saying is that GCAP told us that when the sales provider conduct auditing, inspection, sampling, and you bring the issue certificate of conformity, when the importer arrives in Ghana, easily you can just go and clear the goods. It is wrong. It is wrong because FDA will have to do their work. It is wrong because EPA, if they have a stake on your goods, they will have to go and do their work. It is wrong because if Atomic Energy has to do something with your goods, they have to do their work. It is wrong if Energy Commission has to do something on your goods, they have to do their work. So COC will not be the panacea to say, okay, because COC has come to be in existence, you guys go to court, you go and deal with the custom. We are also saying that the DICs, the Destination Inspection Company, are also companies that importers are paying so much on the CIF value. That is the cost of the goods. When they finish coming out with the values, you have to pay, they take 1% from the importer, and the importer pays that. Aside that, we are letting government understanding that importers are paying so much money into the system.
So that was the Executive Secretary of the Exporters and Importers Association, Samson Nasaki. But businesses, however, say it will only impose multiple charges which they will have to pass on to their customers. Let's take a listen to Guta President.
This system of what we call the pre-shipment inspection, and now they will say it's not pre-shipment inspection. And my argument is that if you are inspecting the goods out there, is it pre or post? And if it's pre, you cannot tell anybody that it is a GCAP in what form? So for us, that pre-shipment inspection was in the system some 50 years ago. Government in its own wisdom decided to abandon that program.
You think for good reason?
Well, the government in its own wisdom abandoned the program and brought in the destination inspection companies.
Now, Joy News checks at Tiptoe Lane, one of Accra's most patronized shopping avenues here at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, however, revealed many of the traders have not been officially notified about the shop closure. The shop owners, however, say they are very eager to join.
I can't go to Parliament and work. I can't go to Ghana Commercial Bank and go and work because my qualification have not got there. So I do repairs to take care of my family, my mother, my father, and my siblings, you understand? But because of the light off, I can't work anymore. So if they said even they are starting today, if I got to know, I have not got to know, I will join them. How things are getting, the things are getting out of hand. So even when they ask us to close for 1 week, we will do it. For the government to know that we are more serious than what they did previous. The customers are no more coming. So now as I'm talking to, I don't have any customer. Because they will call you before they will come. Do you have lights? And you said no, they won't come. So now, either I lose them or I gain them or whatever I do, what I want to do is I will just sacrifice for that period for me to do it. Then they will see how suffering we are suffering, how they will proceed things for us. That is.
So come Wednesday, we'll see what would happen. But that'll be all for business. I'm Abigail Adomakwenchi. We'll stand by for George Adu Jr. with sports.
Well, time for sports, and we begin with some news on Accra Hearts. So the spokesperson Wahib Said says their target is to win the Confederations Cup after scaling past the first hurdle of the weekend. Hearts progressed to the next stage of the competition after drawing goalless in Benin to seal 1-0 aggregate win in the preliminary second leg game. The Phobians will now face the Senegalese side Olympique d'Ingo, who qualified at the expense of Unisports D Bafang of Cameroon. Wahib Said tells Joy Sports the former champions are aiming for the ultimate.
It is early days to talk about winning the trophy. It is our target to be able to enter the group stages and do well there. At the group stages, if we're able to progress to the final, fair enough. If we are not able, it will be a worthwhile experience for our young players. If we are able to advance beyond the group stage to the finals, that will be a bonus.
What are the expectations as well in the league, because it surely is going to be the big preparatory ground for the championship?
Well, having won our last league match and then gone to Benin to get a very crucial qualification, I'm sure that the confidence of the players and the supporters will actually resurge, and I'm sure that we are going to be able to ride on the back of the renewed confidence to be able to put up a better challenge in the league and perhaps win it, because it is early days, the points are so close, and we cannot at this moment think of any team having won it or any team having been relegated, so it is still open.
Now, the Ghana Football Association President Kwesi Nyantakyi has dispelled suggestions that his outfit pays little attention to the other national teams. Nyantakyi was responding to President John Mahama's plea for the FA to give equal attention to the other national teams during his State of the Nations address last week. In an exclusive interview with Joy Sports, Kwesi Nyantakyi noted that the GFA has not abandoned any national team.
Large extent, a lot has been done, probably on the blind side of the country. Many people who are not closely attached to the teams may not know what we do for the junior national team. The first point is that if we look at the technical teams, the level of expertise that we recruit for the Black Stars is what we are now trying to transfer to the other national. If we look at kitting, for instance, the Puma contract, although the focus is the Black Stars, the quality of kits that are given to the teams are not different from what the Black Stars get. The same jerseys we get from Puma, the junior teams get it. The women's teams also enjoy the same thing. The training tour is a standard for every tournament that the Black Stars goes, and we do the same with the other teams. We have only one senior national team like any other country. And so in terms of ranking of the country, they use the senior national team, and that appears to be the focal point. But it doesn't mean that we've relegated the other national teams to the background. Equal attention is being paid.
Right, so this controversy has come up after the president's comment in the State of the Nation address. But really, I think what the president probably meant to say was the fact that the lesser-known sports were being ignored, which is a fact.
He said two things. First of all, he talked about paying more attention to lesser-known sports, but also said the other national teams. I think that's ironic. The president will have to take the step in doing that. If you have extra $25,000, give it to the Black Queens or give it to the Black Stars.
See where you've taken
and
it.
He needs to do that first.
Anyway, I thought you were going to, bring up the Capital One Cup.
Oh yeah, congratulations, Chelsea winning the Capital One Cup. It's great news.
Yeah, even though it's not really any major achievement, Capital One Cup.
It's just one of those things, and of course, it just sets Chelsea on a lovely roll.
It's a chamber pot.
No, but Mourinho being very sarcastic with this. When Arsenal won the Capital One Cup, he called it a £20 cup. When he won, he said, this cup has a lot of prestige. That's all for sports. He'll be joining us with international news then. Sure. Have a good night.
All right, some news before we go. Ghanaian actress Nadia Buhari is officially a mother. The screen goddess, who's been missing in action for some time now, is said to have delivered 2 girls last week. The delivery probably explains her hiatus from the movie and media scene for some time now. Her father confirmed the delivery Monday morning.
Nadia Buhari's dad, Alhaji Sidiku Buhari, confirmed the news to Hit Entertainment News during a view.
Alhaji, we heard you are grandfather for twins.
Yes, for twins.
Alhaji, are these your first grandchildren?
No, these are not my, I have, about 3 grandchildren.
Yep, but you don't have twins yet. This is your first time having twins.
No, this is my first twins.
Wow.
This is my first twins grandchildren. It's all happened last week. This is what I can tell you, what I can tell you now is, we have 2 twins bouncing baby girls.
Wow.
Okay, and that is all I can tell you.
But Alhaji, can you tell us the father of the children?
I will let you know later, okay?
I'll give you all the
details. The lucky one, I will let you know later. Okay?
Of course.
Alhaji Sidiku Buhari also states that Nadia had her babies outside Ghana, though he won't say where. It is unclear who the father of the babies is, but the actress has been linked to Nollywood bad boy actor Jim Ike. After months, probably years of speculations as to whether they were on or off, Jim Ike proposed to Nadia Buhari a year ago this month with a 6-carat diamond ring whilst having dinner with her on one of the editions of his hit reality show, Jim Ike Unscripted. Nadia, who did not hesitate, said yes. Now, could the spiritual deliverance Jim received from Prophet T.B. Joshua have anything to do with this delivery? That is, if indeed Jim Ike is confirmed to be the father. Watch this space. We will bring you the 411 on the story as it unfolds.
All right, so if it is indeed confirmed that Jim Iyke is the father, then we would have taken Ghana-Nigeria, movie romance to another level. But that's it for the bulletin. Before we go a quick run through our top stories, the NPP minority is demanding the prosecution of former Youth and Sports Minister Kofi Humado after the Auditor General report indicted him in the Jada scandal in which the state lost almost $1 billion Ghana cedis. The Electoral Commission is to begin the process to reopen nominations for fresh district-level elections after the Supreme Court forced a last-minute postponement of the March 3 election. The police have identified the key suspects in the nationwide police recruitment scam. Businesses are to go ahead with the Wednesday demonstration against factors they say are hampering the operations, especially the energy prices. And residents of Adenta have been speaking about their water supply challenges they say, though has improved, are far from over. And that'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israelai. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.